Now, it is my great pleasure to invite to the stage to represent the ACT, the newly minted ACT Deputy Chief Minister, Yvette, who's been in the position all of, I think, 1 week. Welcome, Deputy Chief Minister.
Thanks very much, Virginia, and it's lovely to be here. And I'd also like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land and also any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who are here with us today. Our Prime Minister, ministers, and importantly all of the delegates who will be here sharing all of your expertise with us all over this summit. Thanks very much everyone else who's coming along here today. We're almost at the end of the showcase. I'll be brief, so bear with me. I don't have a slideshow, so you'll just have to listen to my voice. I thought I'd start with a quick reflection on the recent ACT election campaign. It may have passed some of the non-Canberrans here that are in the room. Obviously, we in Labor are proud of the result that we have achieved. I'm also very proud of the way that we spoke to people during the campaign. We had hundreds of thousands of conversations, talking and listening to people in Canberra about what's important to them and where their values lie. Yet for all of these conversations, the issue of domestic violence stayed largely hidden. We understand the statistics. We understand how many homes on any given street have witnessed violence. ACT crisis services have seen 2, 3, 4-fold increases in demand, and I know that this is repeated across the country. But in the life of our community, this insidious problem remains often invisible. The experience reminded me of just how radical the cultural change that we are seeking to achieve is. We are seeking to alter the way Australians think and act in their own homes. It rates among the great struggles for gender equity, and for all of the feminists out there, it will clearly take us dedication, leadership, money and time. So I do want to use this chance to put a rallying call out there for all of us in positions of power to keep leading change where we have that influence. My own sphere of the ACT is smaller than many of my colleagues. Nonetheless, we have developed a far-reaching domestic violence response shaped by the input of local sector leaders, which we have brought along with us here to Brisbane today. We've called it Safer Families, and through it, the Canberra community is making an unprecedented investment in the way our service system prevents and responds to violence. Like everyone, we are seeking to meet the demand for crisis housing, health, legal support, but also try and swing the pendulum back through prevention and early intervention. We simply cannot keep trying to arrest our way out of this issue. The third action plan, which will be launched later today, makes a point of encouraging these investments. One of the things that we're doing here in the ACT is a new early intervention model to rehouse likely offenders and support partners and children in their own homes while the relationship is worked through. I'm not going to go through each of the components of our response, but I want to emphasise one of the key underlying goals of Safer Families is to take domestic and family violence and make it a mainstream issue. For starters, each Canberra ratepayer has just now paid the first Safer Families levy, a $30 annual levy which funds our program into the future. For those who know Victoria's Royal Commission report, you'll know that its very last recommendation, 227, asked governments to look at securing revenue sources for domestic violence responses. The ACT government took the decision to implement a levy, but not just for financial reasons. In doing so, we are asking our community to take ownership of this issue, and the feedback so far has been very positive. Another key feature of our response was the way it brought new levels of collaboration across our budget process, among officials and among ministers. Our domestic violence response captures 5 ministers, all driving cultural change through their departments and programs. I'm sure other states and territories are seeing potential to grow awareness and capacity through public services and workforces and use them to drive this deep cultural change. In Canberra, we're doing it through education and working alongside our teachers, health professionals, bus drivers, public services, and our city service employees. All governments have these options and we should use them. A final feature I'd like to point to is our promotion of a close working relationship with Victoria and how it's responding to the Royal Commission. I think communities can become pretty cynical quickly when they see big hype around government inquiries which are not properly followed through. The Victorian Royal Commission helped build the national consciousness on domestic violence that we are seeing here today. And for my part, watching a big state with the big financial grunt commit so strongly to its implementation has helped us drive the message in a much smaller jurisdiction. Our policy response has been quite similar, and one of the things I've been happy to achieve is the formalisation of information sharing, particularly around the setting up of our central service hubs. So if we look to the national context, I can see an ongoing commitment to this partnership approach is critical. The ACT welcomes the many opportunities created by a summit like this one, not just governments talking to each other, but also many practitioners who lead the frontline response being able to work together more. And their contributions are absolutely vital to this conversation. The third action plan launched this morning is the product of a consensus approach to the national policy making, and we in the ACT have been very pleased to be part of it. By the same token, there remain some key elements of national policy which don't meet the aspirations of this document yet. The ACT government has again put its support behind the inclusion of the domestic violence leave as a national employment standard, and it's been great hearing other states and territories supporting this, the inclusion of domestic and violence leave as a national employment standard today. Action 1.5 of the third action plan points to this need. And we again call for the funding to be secured under the National Partnership Agreement on Homelessness, a vital funding source for homelessness services responding to people who have left violent homes, and another of the Royal Commission's recommendations. These are two of the many opportunities which we collectively have that we are able to bring this document to life. The ACT has set out to take a leadership role in pushing awareness of domestic and family violence and engaging the community in that response. But the limits of one level of government are clear enough. So again, we're very pleased to be part of this conversation today and a partner to the third action plan. More than that, I hope that as a group, we can keep the momentum with policy commitments, big and small, over many years to keep sending a unified message to our communities on the need for deep social change in Australia on this issue. Thanks very much, everyone, for playing your part.
Thank you very much indeed, ACT Deputy Chief Minister, and some great learnings from some of the initiatives there.